Hello there. I'd like to welcome Marcus Pearl, the Mayor of the City of Port Phillip, who's today kindly offered to talk to us about the budget and the process, and he's going to be quite candid and tell us about the controversies as well. So, Marcus, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Good to be back with you, Greg, and good to have you back on deck also.
Yeah, thanks very much. Now, you passed the budget last week, and
We did.
just tell me, in the voting for the budget, was it, how did the councillors line up?
Well, we voted for the budget. The budget gets voted in a number of different resolutions. I wouldn't say it's complicated, but it's a lengthy process to pass a budget. You pass key policy components, then you vote on the rate increase, then you vote on the budget items, then you vote on the rates and charges, etc. So every different councillor has a different view, but I'm pleased to say last Wednesday we came together and we passed a budget in a good, orderly fashion. So the key points of the budget this year that I think your listeners would want to note is one of the biggest service changes in Port Phillip history has finally been enacted. So that's the food organic and garden organic. The FOGO trial is now moving to implementation phase. A waste charge will be implemented to help pay for these services and from next year, and the rates increase was 1.75%. We've shifted away rate are now calculated. We've shifted away from a net annual value or a rental income calculation to a capital improved value or a market scale. So we've also introduced differential rating to try and have some levers to ensure that the valuation shifts don't place a disproportionate burden on residential ratepayers.
Okay, but we've also got an additional waste charge and an additional FOGO charge. Now, will the rates be reduced by that amount? Because we're already paying for those in our current rates.
In the first year, a waste charge of $176.20, I think off the top of my head, is the waste charge that will help pay for the extra services and the rising costs of managing the waste, and a separate collection charge of $88.10 to households eligible for the FOGO bin, with collections to start from January for FOGO next year. So the overall take in the first year of the waste charge is the same, including the waste charge, so we strip it out. That waste charge can increase higher than the rates cap in future years, but it should be proportionate to the increasing cost that waste services provide.
Yeah, so it's separate to the rate cap. So there's some people have been concerned that it's a bit of a blank check with the waste charges and the FOGO charges. What's your response to that?
Yeah, look, it's one of my concerns as well as an individual councillor. Obviously, I'm talking to you here as mayor, so I represent the council's position as the mayor. But it's one of the concerns I personally have and a number of councillors have had. The thing that gives me a level of comfort is it would be a very ambitious council that tried to put through a fee increase that was above the proportional amount of fee increase that they were incurring through waste services. So if their waste services increased by 7%, they tried to slug through a 25% rating, charge increase. That would not be perceived well, and I think they would have difficulty getting the numbers through council. Plus, there's also some regulations through the state government that provide a level of oversight. But it's right to have some concerns around it. Some of the options in the future, a future council could look at, or this council could look at, is actually putting a cap on those charges as well. So a self-imposed cap, which I think might be a good idea down the track.
Well, speaking from a self-centred point of view, I live in an apartment building where we do our own FOGO already, and I can't see how we will get any additional services for this cost.
Well, you get a communal bin. So I presume you'll be taking that perhaps you have on-site composting, but you'll get communal bins for glass. So you'll be able to take your glass recycling to a communal bin, which shouldn't be more than 300 metres away from your property. And you also get communal FOGO. So there's some big advantages there also. So albeit you don't get the direct benefit of the green bin potentially because you live in a multi-unit development, but you certainly will get access to those community bins, which are a huge advantage.
Well, see, I currently pay rates of about $1,000. So if you add 176, that's a chunk extra like that. That's almost a 20%.
Well, in the first year, it's a component of the rate, right? So in next year, it can increase higher, but in the first year, it's a component of your existing rate.
Okay, so it'll be the standard rates, but it'll be itemised. So the existing rates
correct.
will drop by that amount.
Yeah, correct. So, but the waste charge in the future can move at a higher rate than what the rates cap by the state government can be.
Okay, fair enough. And what else is significant in that budget? Because the media release you put out really focused on the sustainable elements. Are there any other elements?
Yeah, I think FOGO is the big one, obviously, right? So when you talk about sustainability, we're probably talking about that, but also the commitment that council's made around economic recovery. So we show an increased commitment to continue to invest in our local economy to assist traders hit by the pandemic, and that's an extension of support of the economic recovery package, which is worth more than $1 million. And that includes outdoor activation and footpath trading permit relief. The Business Advisory Group, we've provided funding to them of $200,000 for promotion and marketing of the city. And we've also provided $40,000 to the Carlisle Street Traders Association to help them build the capacity in their first financial year of operation. So, plus there's a number of other items that people should be really proud of. Council's contribution to Southside Live, waterfront welcomers, coming back to life, hopefully, as the cruise ships come in, and the third year of the renewed Fitzroy Street collaboration, which is $75,000. So there's lots of good things in this budget for people to look at, but particularly one of the things I'm proud about as Mayor is the components of the economic recovery.
There's this $5 million surplus, and partly that's driven by a decrease in staffing. Now, I noticed that I always read the CEO's report, and it was previously customary that each report indicated the staff turnover. It's not in the most recent one. I couldn't find it if it was, so I'm happy to be corrected on that. So I'd like to know why that's not reported, and is this decrease in staffing done because positions are not being filled as people leave?
Yeah. I'll make sure I get to the bottom of the staff turnover figure not being in that report. It should be in there. I'm wondering if it's in the quarterly reports, not in the monthly reports, but I'll look into that for you and come back to you on that one, Greg. But our staff turnover is uncomfortably high. It's similar to a number of challenges being faced by other councils. But let's talk about, when you say $5 million surplus, that's for the last financial year, for the 21-22 year. That's not the forecast surplus for this financial year. That was caused by predominantly deferrals in capital projects, in terms of not being able to access labour, not being able to come on budget with those projects, and not being able to source materials. There is also a component that you rightly say around reduced staff costs. That's not because we've laid staff off. It's because our turnover is up, because people are obviously moving around a lot at the moment, and it's very difficult to find people. So our staff have been working very hard to cover those vacancies, but we have had an increased number of vacancies, which provided a favourable budget outcome. But the vast majority of the surplus has really been caused by capital work deferrals.
Okay, so I think we've got to wrap up the budget. Can we have a quick chat about the Fitzroy Street toilet, where that's at?
Yeah, so the Fitzroy Street toilet petition, a petition came that was put predominantly from members of the local school. And thank you for everybody that participated in that meeting and made their feedback known. A majority of councillors have elected to continue forward with the toilet. And we've also increased the budget to provide access to another sewer component. Within that resolution, it says that the CEO or a delegated person within council has the ability to be able to work with Parks Victoria to see if that toilet block can be moved slightly north, if we can get a better access to the sewer or a better outcome. But at the moment, where the council, through that resolution, is committed to constructing that toilet, we've been trying to do this for many, many years. In fact, over a decade, we've been trying to put a toilet there. It's a key activity centre of the city, and it's important that it has public toilet infrastructure, and that's what the majority of councillors a few weeks ago decided on. So with the support of Parks Victoria, we hope to start construction on that toilet block soon.
Well, I noted with interest that when it came up at council, that people seemed to be surprised that a sewer connection would be needed, and that it would cost $330,000, which means the toilets.
I won't go into detail why that's the case, but there's a bit of complicated engineering about having to access a different sewer route to make sure that some works that were done on another sewer route, the warranty isn't voided on those works, etc. So I won't go down the rabbit hole of talking about that. But we, the majority of councillors passed a resolution to say we need a toilet block in this area and would like it to be constructed as soon as possible.
Okay, and I guess the other thing of note that's happened was the passing of Perce White, the former Port Melbourne mayor. Have you got anything you'd like to add about that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, as years have gone by, perhaps don't know about the legacy of Perce White and the legacy of those councils, so the Port Melbourne, South Melbourne and St Kilda councils that were amalgamated in the 1990s to become the city of Port Phillip. And Perce embodies what was great about those councils and what is good about local government in many respects. He spent more than 20 years as a councillor, first elected in his early 40s. He was mayor none less than 6 times, and he did a number of pretty amazing things in the Port Melbourne area, and was one of those true local councillors that everyone knew, and if they had a problem, they would go and talk to Perce about. So it was fitting that the flags at all 3 of our town halls were flown at half-mast yesterday as we remembered Perce, and we send our best wishes to his friends, his family, and everybody else that was associated with him.
Yes, well, the ghosts of previous councils do walk the halls of Port Phillip, and sometimes it's not all bad. They're not all scary ghosts. They can bring a contribution.
No, they're not. He made a bit of a heroic guy that made a big contribution to our local areas, as a number of people have, obviously, but it was sad to say goodbye to him this week.
Okay, well, thanks for that. Thanks for your time, Marcus, and I look forward to doing this again, and I'm sure some people will have some opinions about the budget and the rate increase, and we'll hear about it.
Budget. Obviously, if anyone's facing issues in terms of being able to pay their bills, like we do understand that there's a lot of hardship still in our community at the moment, and people are having issues paying their rates. Please contact our assist desk. We have a substantial budget to help people with financial hardship, obviously, but the rates increase this year was a contested issue within the chamber, but the majority of councillors decided that a 1.75% rate increase was the equitable thing to do, and that's what council's going with.
Okay, well, thanks, Marcus. And again, the message to the community is don't be backward in coming forward. So,
correct, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Greg, I'm looking forward to talking to you again next month.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Marcus.
No worries, mate.